The Resident Evil 4 remake is coming out on March 24th, 2023. However, on the Capcom Spotlight, Capcom surprised fans by announcing a free-to-play demo for the upcoming game that was available immediately. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who ran to play the demo as soon as possible. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my early thoughts on what I played from that demo.
Stars and Stripes!
Hello and welcome to another Carrot Scraps video, and by another I mean the 145th. So of course, as usual, just a couple of disclaimers before we get into the video. This video will be another one of my patented ramble reviews, which means that I wrote down some notes, but I didn't script out the entire thing. So just keep in mind, if I get any details wrong or if I change my opinion in the future, that's the reason why. Also keep in mind that this demo is available right now and that you should definitely check it out if you're able to. The gameplay you'll be watching in my video is from the PS5 version of the game. I also wanted to mention really quickly that I've been hearing a lot of scurrying in my house, and I think it's that thing that escaped from the box that was delivered here. So if you hear scurrying in the background, just ignore it. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about my thoughts on the Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw demo. So, I just finished playing the Resident Evil 4 Remake Chainsaw demo, which, first of all, let me just say, is the best and strangest name for a demo ever. I love it so much, it totally took me by surprise. Kind of like the announcement of this demo. I really didn't expect to come home today and get the opportunity to play this game early before it releases at the end of the month. And let me just say, I absolutely loved it. I had a great time. It took me about, I want to say 35 minutes to 40 minutes to complete, but I died a couple times, so you definitely can complete it quicker than that. But the fun thing about the demo is that it's not timed, so you can continue to play it over and over. If that's what you want to do, you can take it slow, you can examine the environments, you can try and, play more efficiently, enjoy the combat a little bit more. I feel like you have a lot of options here. But it is a relatively short demo, which makes sense, right? I think the demo, well, first of all, it basically is the opening of Resident Evil 4, in my opinion. You even get the little title crawl talking about when this game takes place, the events of the previous games in the Resident Evil franchise, and kind of what Leon is going through. I'm very excited to see the translation from the original game to this one, and getting that opening sequence and comparing it to the original version is already just a great start to the demo and just super interesting and exciting. Also, a lot of similarities to Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 3 Remake in this opening. But then the demo itself, I feel like you get a good mix of some kind of quieter segments, some more stealthy segments, some just kind of taking in the environment segments, and then also towards the end you get combat. And let me say, the first thing I want to say about this demo, or maybe not the first thing, but one of the things I want to highlight about something that I love about this demo is just the environments, which shouldn't be surprising if you're familiar with the Remake series. I really do love the environments here. The minute that you spawn as Leon and are able to control the character, I absolutely love the environments and just looking at every little detail and seeing some of the details that are similar with previous Resident Evil Remake games, but also seeing, just beautiful new environments. It is, I always like to call it virtual tourism, when part of your enjoyment of a game is kind of just exploring the scenery. And I think it looks gorgeous in this game, whether it's just the wilderness, the creepy woods, or whether it's a creepy house and whether it's a man-made structure. So far, I am completely enthralled. I would argue that it's probably one of my highlights of this demo. Potentially my favorite thing about this demo is the way that the game looks, which again isn't a big surprise, but I mean, when something is good, it's still good, so I gotta highlight it. Oh, that was weird. I thought I heard something scurrying. Anyway, moving on, something else I wanted to talk about, going back really quickly to the opening. I like the additions to the opening. For example, seeing Leon's past and introducing characters that will become, twists at the end of the story is really nice to see. Seeing this character's journey and seeing how he's kind of lost in thought was also really nice. So in general, I do like the opening, but I do have to admit it is a little bit weird in some places. I don't know what it is, but I think they kind of map the CG Leon face onto a human body as they're doing like human things. I could be wrong on that, but there are just some moments in the opening that look a little odd, specifically when Leon's like in the lineup with his, military troop, and then when he's also fighting. I just feel like his face doesn't fit his body, and I don't know, there's something odd about it, but in general, I like the opening. Now, even though I loved the environments, and I can't stress enough how much I enjoyed walking and crouching through these environments, it really is a highlight of these kind of modern Resident Evil games, I will say that the lack of music is something that I'm not super interested in. Now, to be fair, there is music in the game, and so far I like it, but I'm just worried. I guess you could say I'm concerned about the future of the game and whether the rest of the game will have more music. I really feel like removing the music from Resident Evil games is a mistake, so I want to hear more of the soundtrack when we're playing in the full release. In addition, I know we missed this for the Resident Evil 3 remake, but I would love it if this remake of 4 included hopefully free DLC or an option to play the original music. I think that's such a cool idea. It was something that was introduced with Resident Evil 2 remake, and I just think it's such a cool idea. I would love to see that with 4. Now, speaking of stealth, something interesting that kind of piqued my curiosity is the fact that you can kind of do stealth takedowns with your knife. And I don't think that was in the original Resident Evil 4. To my knowledge, it wasn't. And it's not super common in a Resident Evil game to just kind of sneak up behind an enemy and stealth kill them. For me, that seems pretty new, unless I'm forgetting something, and so I'm wondering how much that can factor into the gameplay. I don't think I was able to stealth kill everybody in the opening combat section, but there was a part of me that was wondering maybe I could sneak through here and, one by one kill off all of these Ganado, and I wonder if that's a possibility for the rest of the game, but definitely getting to stealth kill is something that I wasn't expecting and something that I'm curious to learn more about when the full game comes out. Speaking of the Ganado, they look incredible, and I think they act incredible. Putting my cards on the table, I've mentioned this on the channel before, but I'm not sure if I've mentioned it in this video yet. I am not the biggest fan of Resident Evil 4. I'm big into Resident Evil now. I've been playing these games for the last couple of years and kind of catching up, and I've been really enjoying them. Some of them are my favorite, are some of my favorite games, that I've ever played now, but Resident Evil 4 is a game that has really struggled to capture me, and I've replayed it a couple times, and it's just not my favorite. I love Leon, I love a lot of the music in the game, I love a lot of the environments, but there's also a lot of stuff that I'm not a big fan of, and the Ganado is one of those aspects of the game that I wasn't the biggest fan of back in the day, and still now. They're replaying the game recently, I've appreciated them more a little bit, but they're definitely something that I've always been apprehensive about, and so seeing them in this demo, I like their kind of updated look and behaviors. I like that they feel more obviously, demented, right? I love that they can have their necks snapped, and then it's more obvious that there's this parasite living in them. And to me, that feels a lot more Resident Evil than, when I was first checking out this game, I was very unsure about these people, and there definitely is intrigue there, but I like that they make it a little bit more obvious in the demo and presumably the full game that these Ganado are definitely not okay. There's something absolutely wrong with them, but I think they look beautifully grotesque. I think they look wonderful. I love the designs. I absolutely love the Chainsaw Man and his new design with the bulging eyes with the bag over his head looks absolutely incredible and absolutely horrifying. Those kind of over-the-top designs are exactly what I want for my horror in general, and definitely what I want from Resident Evil. So from what I've seen of the Ganado and the enemies that we're going to take on in the full game, I'm very excited to see more. Now, when it comes to the combat, I think the gunplay is pretty fun. It pretty much operates like other Resident Evil remake games, but I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the combat section that introduces you to the combat in the game, or rather the final combat scenario, this final arena. I like the idea that it's introducing you to kind of a tone of the game, this village that's overwhelming and foreboding and creepy and disturbing. I think it accomplishes that really well. But when it comes to gameplay, I just feel like because you need so what happens is you need to essentially let the Ganado notice you, and then you need to dodge them for a little while before triggering the chainsaw man, and then you need to fight him for a little bit before all of these enemies will leave of their own free will once a cutscene begins. And I just feel it, it kind of reminds me of Resident Evil 8, the opening sequence, where I just don't like that you essentially have to, there's no like kind of winning. You kind of have to wait until the game decides that this next sequence is going to begin. And I'm just not a big fan of that. I feel like it just confuses the player. And even though this is a very familiar game that I'm playing right now, right? It's a remake. It definitely confused me for a little bit. I wasn't sure what I should do, and when I first died, I was going to change my approach completely, but what I really needed to do was just allow the events to transpire. So I'm not the biggest fan of that introduction to this area, and I definitely think that they could have gone for something a little bit different. In addition, I'm a little confused as to what this game is going to be, whether it's going to be, more puzzle-solving survival horror, or whether it's going to be this action-driven game. Again, referencing Resident Evil 8, I feel like Resident Evil 8 is more action-oriented, and it can feel pretty fast-paced at times, whereas in Resident Evil 4 Remake, this demo so far, I'm not sure what it wants me to do, because I felt very overwhelmed by the Ganado, mostly because I didn't have any ammo, and that's a good feeling, right, for a more survival horror game rather than an action horror game, and yet it felt like it wanted me to fight. There were just so many enemies, and I could die and game over, that like it wanted me to fight, but I just didn't have enough ammo to do so. So I felt very torn in that. And again, there's an element there that I really like, that like it is intimidating through the gameplay. You're learning through the gameplay that this is a horrifying scenario that Leon is finding himself in, but from a that's the tone, but from a gameplay perspective, it's confusing as to what the game will be and what the game wants me to be. Obviously, killing enemies will give me items, but the amount of items that I got and the amount of ammo that I got didn't feel like it was incentivizing me, at least in this demo, to kill enemies. I more so just ran around the map looking for more ammo, and then once I started using my ammo on these enemies that did take a little bit to take down, it made me wonder, like, should I even be wasting my ammo on these enemies, or should I be using and holding on to this ammo for when the bigger enemies come? So yeah, I feel like this opening sequence, even though it is beautiful and even though it feels good to control Leon, I really love the knife. I feel like the knife is a great new system, this kind of degrading system, but also the way it feels to attack enemies with the knife, to me feels really different, and I like the way that it feels in this game. But I do think that there are some contradictory lessons in the gameplay here, and it can be a little confusing for an opening sequence meant to introduce the player to the game. Now, something that I'm really excited about is that Nick Apostolides, I don't know how to say his name, but the voice actor for Leon in Resident Evil 2 Remake, who I think did a great job, is back for Resident Evil 4, and I'm really excited about that. I've heard him talk about wanting to come back for this character, and I think a lot of people have really gravitated to his version of the character, and it just is really cool. The first time I saw Leon in this new game, it was the first thing I thought was, I hope that Nick is returning to play this character, and sure enough he is, and I can't wait to hear him deliver more lines. And the lines that we did get to hear him deliver in this demo were pretty great so far. Another thing that is very I don't know, unique, or that stands out about the original Resident Evil 4 is that it can be a little corny, and it can be a little over the top. It can stand out a little bit and be a little goofy and funny. And yet there's also this kind of streak. So people aren't the biggest fan of that, I feel, but there's also the streak of coolness to Leon with his one-liners. And I feel like it's the right move for the remake to try and make the game more serious, to make the events, less goofy. I think that's a smart idea, but giving Leon, you know, this kind of action movie star, these one-liners is a good way to keep a little bit of that corniness, a little bit of that fun and silly, you know, over-the-topness. You know, Leon's little line at the end of the demo, you know, where's everybody going? Bingo? It's so silly. But it works for this character, somebody who's jaded to this, and, you know, it just is, you know, just cool to see an action hero kind of get those lines. But it's nice in this remake that that attitude, that cockiness, that silliness isn't overpowering the rest of the game. I still felt scared. I still felt, you know, that Leon felt scared. It's still an intimidating and frightening environment, and we have our one-liners, so it's kind of a, you know, have your cake and eat it too moment. Now again, I like the way the game looks a lot. I think the environments are gorgeous. I like a lot of the new redesigns for these characters. However, maybe this is a nitpick, or maybe I just caught him at the wrong times. I don't think that Leon looks the best when you're playing as him. I feel like his character model looks a little odd sometimes. Maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's just the demo, but I did find myself looking at Leon and thinking, ugh, every now and again. And then a cutscene would happen and I'd be like, oh, there he is, he looks fine. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just nitpicking, but that was definitely something that came to mind while I was playing. And those are some of my first thoughts on the Resident Evil 4 Remake Chainsaw demo. I am so excited that I got to play this game a little bit early. I'm so excited that they put out this demo. I was not expecting them to put this out, and it's really cool that they did that, and I encourage you, if you're interested, or if you're just a little curious, you're not a big Resident Evil fan, but you're on the fence, definitely check it out. I mean, it's a free demo, and it's definitely worth checking out. There's definitely a lot here. Even though it was relatively quick to complete, I do think that if you linger and you take your time kind of taking in the scenery and trying things out for yourself, you could have a lot of fun with this demo, kind of just exploring. There is definitely a lot that I love about this demo and a lot that I am going to love about the game once it comes out, but that being said, there are also concerns that I have that I mentioned in this video. There are some impressions that didn't necessarily work for me, and I do have anxieties about the full game. Overall, I am still incredibly excited as somebody who is not a big Resident Evil 4 fan, as somebody who puts Resident Evil 4 lower on their ranking list for the series. I want to like this remake. I want this remake to make Resident Evil 4 one of my favorite Resident Evil games. So I am in the corner of allowing this game to win. I want this game to win, but I do have concerns and I am conflicted. If I, you know, compared it to Resident Evil 8 a couple times in this video, it's because I don't want it to be Resident Evil 8. I actually like Resident Evil 8, even though other people aren't the biggest fan of it, but Village is pretty fun for me. That being said, it's not what I necessarily want for a Resident Evil game, especially a Resident Evil remake game. I want something more similar to 3 and 2, and I think that there are definitely details that appear and make the game appear as if it's going to be closer to those, and I just hope that the game avoids the other details that make it less like those two. So again, definitely check out the demo if you are interested, and I will definitely be picking up the game at the end of the month. I can't wait to play it for myself, and you better believe I'll be talking about it on the channel. So, what? There's just a little creature. This is the first time I'm seeing anything. I've heard scurrying for the last couple of months. How you doing, buddy? Or what's going on? Do you like Resident Evil? Nope. Okay, there it goes. Wow. Okay. I don't know how to contextualize. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I don't know if I'm happier that I finally saw what was making the sound, or if I'm more upset because I finally saw what was making the sound. Either way, I'm sure they're excited for Resident Evil 4. I think, right? I mean, why else would they show up for the Resident Evil 4 demo video? Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you so much for watching. If for some reason you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to my channel for more. As regular viewers know, I make a variety of content on my channel, and I'm always going to make the videos that I want to make. But if you see something you enjoy, make sure to let me know, and I'll try to prioritize that kind of content in the future. Over on Twitch, I typically play superhero games like Marvel's Avengers or Marvel Snap, but of course I also play the occasional horror game like Resident Evil. So if that sounds interesting to you at all, make sure to check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/carrotscraps. twitch.tv/carrotscraps. And all my other social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram are at carrotscraps as well. So I want to thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Vocal exercises, chainsaw man, I am a chainsaw man. Vocal exercises, do not wander into the chainsaw man's house. Chainsaw man house. Chainsaw man house.